All right. Here we are. We're back. I want to say hi. See you
Hi.
guys. There we go. Making sure mics are on. I think last time we got a notification that our microphone, my
Test
microphone
one,
at
two,
least, was
three.
not working. So we're all here. Good afternoon, Brenda. How are you?
Hello. Hello. I'm recovering.
From
We had a
what?
great conference in Tampa,
Yeah, we did.
and it was fun to see everybody, but it's hard for an old lady to stand on concrete all day long.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's not just hard for you. I think my shoulders and back and everything aches today. I had to
Yeah.
do some yoga with Crystal, my
Yes. There was
wife.
much stretching yesterday.
Yes. And today we have a special guest, and I think I have your heads reversed on the display. So why don't you, while I switch things around, why don't you introduce our guest today, Brenda, and let everybody know who she is.
Okay. Dina Fox is a long-term homeschooler, and I've known her for years and got to know her when we walked houses for a campaign one year. That was so much fun. We just really bonded after that. And she's run Class Source, started and run Class Source in Lutz. Is that the location
Lutz,
of
Tampa.
it?
Yeah.
And and it's a thriving program. They've got a lot of great classes that they offer homeschoolers, and now it's classified in the new PEP as a home education instructional program. Um,
Yay!
and we're just delighted that Dina's on with us today, and she has some questions from her contacts and families, and we're going to try to answer some of those. And hopefully, we'll be able to provide more information in the future as it becomes available. So, thank you, Dina, for
Absolutely.
joining us.
Oh, thank you for having me. Thanks for all you're doing to help us be able to keep on trucking here in Florida.
Awesome. Well, let's go ahead and kick it off. Do you have a list of the questions, Dina, that you wanted to ask?
I do. I have a
Where
lot
would
of
you like to start?
questions.
Okay, I'll
You know,
let
I
you
was
take
thinking,
the. Go ahead.
yeah, I was thinking about that. I was like, how do you even approach this behemoth of a new change in the landscape here? You know, for so many years, either you homeschooled through the county, or maybe you found a 600 school umbrella school and worked with them, or your kids were in a traditional or private school of some kind, or you were truant. Those were your options. You know, you had to do one of those. And here we are with this brand new PEP, and it has caused so much buzz. And that makes sense because at first, you know, Brenda, it was at the beginning there was some real concerns, and what people probably want to know is a little bit about what you did to fix that, and understand that the alerts that we were looking at back in the spring are not where we are today. And the fact that there are three different tracks now is really confusing for people. So if you could kind of explain a little bit about why there are three tracks and how you can fit into them.
I would love to. As you've mentioned, we've already been familiar with the private school option that serve home educated students. The home education law, which gives us great freedom and a lot of opportunities. And now the legislature has created another way to meet compulsory attendance. So it's called the Personalized Education Program. And I was very concerned when the first draft of HB1 came out because they were going to give homeschoolers money. But if a homeschool parent didn't want money, there was no way to opt out. And so what I wanted to create was a separate category in the ways that you can meet compulsory attendance so that it was in a separate chapter of law. And if more regulations come on down the road on this program, they would not be imposed on those parents who chose the traditional home education program that's in statute. We were very successful in being heard, and the legislature came out with the second version of HB1, the CS for HB1. It ended up having 4 CSs, which are committee substitutes for the original bill. And so in the end, we have created the options to meet compulsory attendance for, these were in the law, public, private, parochial, home education, private tutor. Now we have personalized education programs. So there's 6 ways to meet it. The scholarship tries to track the home education law in terms of opportunities and benefits. Because this is such a complicated program, we still don't have a lot of answers on exactly how that's going to work. I had a call this morning from a mom who has student athletes, and she's trying to figure out, well, it said I got the scholarship. It was awarded a scholarship. So when do I withdraw from a home education program and submit as a personalized education program?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, we haven't worked those things out yet. I'm going to get in touch with the FHSAA this week and try to figure out what they're going to try to do. But they're in great turmoil themselves because the legislature changed everything about who's in authority and how that's going to work. And so they're trying to figure out their own bill that reorganized them. So there's a lot of moving parts in the implementation of this. So I'm excited that the bill ended up not falling in the home education statute. And then we're just going to have to watch this going forward. I feel safe for the 20,000 parents that are awarded the scholarship this year. But going forward, there could be more regulation placed on that statute, and we just have to watch.
Sure.
Right.
I think that's, oh, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead, Dina.
No, it's right. That's and people that are
the big concern.
Maybe a little newer to the home education scene, or who haven't really paid a whole lot of attention to really how the state government works, may not realize that having to watch this is not a new thing, and that having to watch home education law is something that's done every year and has been since 1985. And we never have a time where we just don't worry about it because we have a good law. Right. And that your job is to make sure that every year a strike of a pen in the spring legislature doesn't change everything. And that includes now PEP.
Exactly.
All right, so I have some questions that came in that I want us, maybe we can all collaborate in answering them, but it's probably going to be Brenda who does most of the talking. But I want to do these like a lightning round kind of thing. Right? So the shortest
Will there be
possible
hot sauce
answer.
involved while we do it?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, we could have hot wings and see who cries first as well.
It'll be me.
So first question, and just give the most non-legalese term, like give the most direct, if it's possible, answer to it. And that would be, who will PEP benefit this year?
The 20,000 students that receive the scholarship.
Okay. Those who apply, who are willing to apply, right?
Well, and Brenda, isn't there an income verification on that this year as well?
There is, and most homeschoolers would fall in this category. Jason is going to put up the link to the federal poverty level for this year. And if your family income of 4 is $55,000 or less, you would get priority for that scholarship. Mm-hmm. However, anybody that applies can participate and receive a scholarship if their income is less than 120,000 for a family of four. So that's going to cover
A lot of people.
a lot of people,
Mm-hmm.
since most of our families are living on one income.
Right.
But the way that's going to work is, if you want priority, you're going to have to prove by providing your tax returns to step up to prove that you have less than 185% of the poverty level.
I believe when I applied, because I have a child who's has Step Up for Students EO for HIP Private Christian School this year, we had to submit pay stubs for a month within the last 2 months. We didn't have to do our federal return, which is sometimes a very difficult thing for self-employed people to be able to produce. So if you have bank statements or pay stubs, that was an option as well.
Okay,
so we had an
great.
extra question come in along the same line. Is it 20,000 students or 20,000 families?
Students.
Good. And then, will there be a chance to ask a question at the end, not PEP related? Yes, that is a question, so that counts, and you did it. No, I'm kidding. Now, yes, we'll open up to some general Q&A at the end. We want to keep moving forward with the lightning round, but good questions, a good question and great answers. So, next question, another lightning one, is why is the creation of PEP a good thing for homeschoolers? Because there are a lot of people out there who are like, this is terrible. All of it's terrible. The sky is falling. This is the worst possible thing ever. Why is this good, Brenda? Dina?
Personally, I didn't want a scholarship to be given to home education families, because I think in the end they become dependent on the money and they depend on the government. I am a freedom lover and I want independence and no one to tell me anywhere down the line what to do or how to do it. However, some families will benefit from this, and as the chief lobbyist, I don't try to determine things based on my preferences, because I think those are things that parents need to decide. And so I just tried to make this program as good as possible to benefit families with the least restrictions. So I think it's up to a family to decide if they want to take it or not.
Okay. I think that's wonderful. Dina, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, my question, kind of sub that question, Brenda, is this money really coming from the government or is it coming from private companies?
It actually is coming as a Florida tax credit scholarship, which is corporations in the state of Florida required to pay taxes. And so they've diverted that money for the corporations if they apply for it, and they can donate it, that same amount of tax dollars, to the scholarship funding organizations, which we term SFOs. And we know those as Step Up for Students or AAA scholarships. So technically, it's not government money. It's diverted government money.
It's funneled through the government too.
No, it never gets to the government.
Never goes
diverted. So diverted.
Yeah,
diverted is what you said.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
It's diverted to the scholarship funding organizations for those corporations that want to do that.
So this isn't taking any money from a public school's budget or a private school benefit or anything else. This is completely not going into that realm at all.
Correct.
I don't think many people knew that. I think that even a lot of people at the Tampa Bay Educational Conference that we were at had some confusion on that. I heard you and Sue kind of talking about that, and I thought that was a fascinating answer, but I think many people don't know that. So that's good.
Right.
That's really good. All right, so follow-up question. Is there any risk, then, in taking the PEP funds this year?
No. You want us to sink down?
No, that's great. That's perfect. That's perfect. For someone who has a little bit of fear about that, maybe assuage it a little.
Okay. Because we have retained in statute the home education law intact. If the regulation come on it in future years, a parent just doesn't renew the scholarship and goes back to home education.
And that goes back to the 3 tracks you were talking about at the beginning.
Yes.
Okay.
Awesome. When I'm mentoring families at ClassSource, one of the things I tell them when they're hesitant to home educate or they're hesitant to put their child into a program of some kind is that no decision that you make this year is final. And that at any time during the year, you can choose another course.
Interesting. And how do they react to that?
They're usually surprised that they're not locked in for the school year for whatever the decision is. You know, some people are hesitant to take their freedom under home education law because it feels like a big risk to pull their child out of a school system that has them all taken care of and makes everything neat and tidy, and it's very understood by people. And so I say, you know, if you feel like this is something that could benefit your family, you can try it. And if in 2 or 3 months it's not going well, you have complete freedom to put your child back into the school of your choice, as long as there's an opening for them. And of course, we know the local school will have to take them. And the same way with putting them into the PEP this year. If you are doing that and it isn't going well, then you can choose to go back to home education law through your county. No harm, no foul.
That's awesome. Marianne says, this is very confirming. So I give her a heart to that comment. That's awesome. Follow-up question in the comments. Will PEP families be advised to continue to create an annual portfolio for their personal homeschool records?
I would encourage them to do so, because you don't know where you're going to go next. You don't know what college your student's going to go to. If you don't have a private school or public school doing a transcript, you may have to do one. So I think that's good practice to keep your child's records.
And Brenda, you had told me once about kind of the origin of why we even keep the portfolios. It was something that your husband had written in there. You want to speak about why really briefly? I thought it was smart, really smart.
My husband was a defense attorney. And so he was sure that if homeschoolers were not required to keep records, they wouldn't, which is true. They wouldn't. And if he had to go to court and defend a homeschooler based on their continued, I don't want to say education, because we're not an education state, we're an attendance state, but your portfolio shows that your child is in attendance to your home education program, and you would need to have records to show that.
So you're building your case, right?
Yes, absolutely.
That's awesome.
But that can be for college or getting back into a private school at the level you think your child should be placed, or even a public school.
Or for you to go back and look at their handwriting 2 years ago and go, oh, I guess it is a little better.
Good point.
Okay, another comment just came in and said, if a student is in their last 2 years of high school, if they became a PEP student, is there a risk that they would be disqualified for Bright Futures as not being registered with their district in a homeschool program?
Good question.
Those details have not been worked out. All I can say is there's one little phrase that are numbers of statutes, and it's they shall have the same opportunities and I've forgotten what the word is, but benefits basically, as in statute 1002.41 parens 3 through 12. That's the homeschool law.
Yeah.
And those are the benefits that a homeschool student gets.
Amazing.
So that's Bright Futures, extracurricular activities, dual enrollment, all those things that we have. This PEP law says that these students will have also. I don't think Bright Futures has figured out how to do that yet, but hopefully within the next 2 months, we will have some answers for those things.
Well, since we're on the subject of plans, the next question is actually about plans with PEP. And it says, what is involved in the educational plan that must be submitted?
Dina, did you have to check the boxes on those questions when you applied?
No, I did not, because my youngest is enrolled in a private Christian school.
Okay.
So that went through the straight F, the EO option, which is different. But I have been able to look at the screen, and it is a toggled screen where you go through a series of about 4 different sets of questions, and they ask you to check box just through a line like you would on a survey, what areas you're going to be teaching. No details, just what you're going to be teaching in different areas of, their education, their character and development, outside of the 3 R's opportunities. And you're listing a few things, but every time you go through it, it says these are not locking you into this, and you can change this plan at any time during the year.
That's really good to know.
Yeah, very good. We had a lot. These questions are long. You guys write novel length questions.
I think most teachers across the nation wish this was the plan, the level of details of plan they had to give.
Amen.
Right. Yeah.
Very tiny.
Let me make a comment on that.
If
there are tools behind each one of those areas, which I saw an overview of this before it was made public, and I unfortunately don't have screenshots or getting into the actual back part of that, but the things that they have in there for tools look a whole lot like the benchmarks for public school for me. I have a great concern about the soft skills that parents are going to be teaching, character, whatever those other ones are that you mentioned, Dina. I think it bears watching, because we don't want those things to become mandatory when the law doesn't say they're mandatory. And unless parents report that to those of us that are in leadership, because they're the ones that are seeing what's behind on those websites, we have no way of knowing and no way to address those issues. So I think it's important that parents stay in touch with us. And I think that at this point in time, Step Up is taking, I don't know about AAA, but I know Step Up is wanting to hear from parents, because the purchasing guide has to be finalized by December. So they've thrown out something that's a general purchasing guide, but if you aren't happy with the choices or the limitations or whatever's in that purchasing guide, you need to let Step Up know. And there's a form that you can fill out on the website to express your opinion. And they're going to be basing their final version with parent input. So it's really important.
Wonderful. That's wonderful. This really is a good time for us to be able to jump in and promote things we know are working, like our local homeschool support programs, class programs, curriculums, tools.
Exactly.
We could really help shape this.
Absolutely.
Certainly. Yeah, that's great. There's another question that came in through the chat real quickly that's along that same line. So let me read it. It's a little bit long, so I might get lost in it. Seeing as how not all requirements for the scholarship are set in stone yet, what should we do if we apply for the scholarship until those requirements for this 23-24 year are finally set in stone? And would those requirements be finalized in January, February? I fear I am applying for something that I don't fully understand.
We know it says they're going to have to follow the statute, the scholarship funding organizations, and just some of the implementation is all we don't know about yet. We know exactly what the program looks like and what's going to be required. We don't know how they're going to get verification from the scholarship funding organizations to replace when the districts did the verification for sports or dual enrollment or
Freeze.
I think she
change.
froze. I think it's her. Okay. Sorry. You're freezing on me. Are you okay? Send help. Blink twice. If you're all right. Okay. There we go. Okay.
There she is.
Good. Um well,
Jason, while she's clearing up, it occurs to me that this is very much the same track that we've followed for about 5 years with Gardner. That at the beginning, many home educating families decided to apply and get the Gardner scholarship. It was a very unknown quantity. We didn't know exactly what was going to be. It was a loose guide on what could be reimbursed, and you got sometimes different answers, and it was a little bit frustrating. But at the end of the year, what happened is thousands and thousands of unique ability students and their home educating families were able to access things they were not able to access before and pay for therapies, curriculums, programs, services. I know we've worked with Gardner at ClassSource, and it's been a huge benefit to families for years now. And every year it changed a little bit as they honed it and figured out what was going on. And now we have a much more streamlined, what's now being taken into being called the UA scholarship with Step Up for Students. And I think we're going to see a similar track with the PEP, where the first year they're trying to figure things out, and it's unknown to even the people they've hired to navigate it on the end of approvals. And the benefits of this year will be then looked at and honed a little bit more and more guidelines given. And you may see that next year they're not going to allow a certain kind of curriculum to be paid back for, or a certain type of device approved because they found it not to be beneficial. But overall, it ended up being a very, very good thing for a lot of families. And the home educating families had to take a risk with Gardner the first year, just like they're going to have to take a risk with PEP.
That's good.
Good point.
Yeah. Will PEP, the chat keeps jumping around me because new stuff comes in and it bumps. I lose my spot. Sorry. Will PEP cover online pre-recorded curriculum like Time for Learning?
It says digital materials, digital curriculum.
Okay.
I would assume that would fall in that category if it's online.
Okay. This would be one of those like submit it and see
Yes.
kind of things. Okay,
Ask for pre-approval for it.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Does anyone know if Step Up will be requiring us to expand upon that SLP once funded? Because that SLP form was very brief.
No.
Okay. And then my student is 15.
I do know. They won't.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
They will not be.
Does anyone know? Right. Okay, I got you. You do know the answer is no.
I do.
Got it. Okay. And then my student is 15 and dual enrolled using FESUA and dual enrollment. Can he graduate homeschool when he is ready up to age 22?
I assume that child is on FESUA
Correct.
because the law allows students with unique abilities to stay in school until they're 22.
Yes. That was the question.
The PEP is in, no one said this yet, but because of the testing component and because you're going to have to basically follow a school schedule to turn in those test scores, I'm guessing that students that are in the PEP are going to be on a grade level. Nobody's going to check that, but I wouldn't think that they would allow them to go to 22 if the student has tested in 9th grade, 10th grade.
Right.
They're
probably going to follow the age 19.
Yeah.
That most things do for dual enrollment and other things.
Right.
Okay. Someone says it looks like they are not submitting standardized testing until 27, 28 for PEP. I was thinking I would create portfolios and test my kids myself. In the meantime, do you have any other information regarding this?
They will have to do a standardized test in the first year at the end of 23-24 in order to renew the scholarship. The test scores will not be made public as a composite test score for PEP students until 27-28.
Brenda,
Okay.
can you explain composite test score to the average Joe so they'll understand what that means?
Yeah, so I was actually going to say the other question that came in prior fits right along with this, which is what kind of test is required and what is done with those test scores?
Okay, nationally normed reference tests, those are not the state assessment tests. Those test general knowledge of students in certain grade levels. You would recognize the name as the Iowa's Test of Basic Skills or the California Achievement Test. Dina, name some more. I can't think of the other ones.
I have the list actually up here. It's on a screen
Okay,
share for
perfect.
everyone watching.
Perfect.
So the Comprehensive Testing Program, Curriculum Associates, Educational Development Series, Iowa Associates, NWEA, Measures of Academic Progress, Pivot, PSAT, Pre-ACT Secure, Classic Learning Test, Thrive Academics, Standard Achievement Test, STAR, Terra Nova. There's more. And that's on the, I'll put that link. I'll put that
So
link
these are
in the
known
chat
quantities.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And so those test scores will be submitted to the SFOs. That will tell them you want to renew or that you're eligible to renew. They will submit those test scores to a state university, which right now it's Florida State University. They have some program that equates all of those different tests to put them in a form where they come up with how all the students are doing in that program. They may do it by grade level. I don't know how the end results will look, but your students' information will never be known publicly. I'm not sure that the state universities will even get the students' names. I haven't seen that part, but the test scores will be submitted. So, but it's not going to track the student, and it's not going to track the student's progress.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
I want to take
They want to know how the program is doing.
Is our money being used well?
Exactly.
Right. Yes. Yeah. So they're tracking. You're saying that they're tracking the program, not the individual students.
Right.
That's reassuring. That's good. All right. We have more questions. Maybe one or two more. Yeah, because you answered one of them already. All right. What if I don't like PEP and I want to quit?
Dina gave the answer to that.
I know.
Say it again for the people in the back.
Say it again for those in the back. We have about 16 people online, and we've had like people coming and joining. So some people might not have been here earlier. We'll go ahead and give it to them straight. Lightning round.
Just don't take the money the next term and tell them you want to withdraw from the program.
Very cool.
Go back to home education or private school. You could always switch over from PEP to the other FTC scholarship, which is for students that attend a private school.
Got you.
That's true. We do want to be aware that some of the people looking at this may have their children in a private school and want to kind of dip their toe in the home education realm as a parent and need this as a step over to that.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
We have another question that came in through Facebook. So I have a gifted child who is not eligible for FESUA because it's not an eligible diagnosis. Currently, I am paying out of pocket for all enrichment opportunities that benefit his learning, but it would be helpful to receive UA funds to cover classes, field trips, STEM projects, etc. When he was in public school, he had an education plan, EP, as well as matrix score, which meant that the school was receiving funding for his education. How can I petition for gifted to be considered as an eligible diagnosis?
I don't believe gifted students are included in this program.
Yeah, not FESUA, right?
Right.
But PEP,
They
certainly
could
that's an
apply.
avenue. Yeah, certainly PEP is an avenue that would apply to at least giving some avenue for it. It wouldn't be based off of a diagnosis or anything like that. It's because you would apply for it and qualify under the structure of the program itself.
And it's
Yeah, I think The main difference there probably is that the unique abilities has a higher income of about $10,000 as opposed to the 7,500 with PEP. So that would be the reason someone might feel that they wanted to try to champion gifted into that unique ability scholarship. But I'm not sure that that's something that a layperson can do by themselves. You probably would have to get some power behind that.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing is the ways you can spend the scholarship money are different. The PEP anticipates a student without any kind of learning disabilities or unique abilities. So there's no therapies or those kinds of things. But certainly you could spend it for a child that is gifted in getting better curriculum, maybe enrolling that child in places where you can pursue their interest and maybe a career beginning earlier, but you would have control over how that child learns.
Certainly. That's great. Well, I have one more question, then I'm out of questions, which is a surprise. But how should I decide which grade level to choose for the standardized test? Back to the PEP standardized test questions.
Dina, can you handle that? I have no idea.
There's a lot of ways to look at that question. Is it coming from someone who really doesn't do grade levels for their child, really more of an unschooler, loose, relaxed schooler? I understand that with the younger kids. My olders were young. You'd ask them what they grade and they'd look at me. That's how you knew a homeschooler. They grade you, they look at their mom. So I would kind of look at their age and say, let's kind of look at the kids that are generally your age and what they're doing, and go ahead and choose that grade level or the grade year under that. And that can give you a baseline for where they are. And I would say if they're above grade level and you want to go ahead and do that, you've got an extremely gifted advanced child, then, go for the year above and see how they do in that score. But because nothing's being done with the scores, you really are free to choose any of them or take 2 different tests on different grade levels and see what you get.
That's great. I just want to highlight
the one you like.
Yeah. I just want to highlight that Brenda said she didn't know. And that was the answer to that question. That may be the first time. No, I'm kidding. No, but I appreciate the honesty. And that brings up a conversation we were having with someone the other day about HEF and what our lane is, what it is that we are focused on, and what it is that we're doing. And the primary focus is protecting home education freedoms. So all the questions that come into us about what are my rights, what does the law say, help us understand this and that, that's our wheelhouse. That's our place of focus. When it comes to other things, we have resources like Dina and ClassSource and all the many other home education programs throughout the state and local regional areas of things like FPEA to connect with and find nurturing and assistance and guidance for some of those other areas. You want to weigh in and say that a little bit more clearly, maybe, Brenda?
We have a state organization that serves the entire homeschool community. It's a way of connecting people on the larger scale. We're trying to build our own website. We have our website, but our own list of people that are interested in learning more and getting involved in the legislative process. But every organization has their own list and they don't share. So it's a good idea, if you want to be plugged in, to be plugged into all of the organizations that are out there so that you get a good broad range of information.
Yes, especially for questions that they're not about legislation. They're about, what kind of curriculum should I use and what program should my kid be on and things like that. That is not really an HEF question, though we take them and we love to invite people like Dina on.
Well, what HEF does is it makes it possible for me to answer those questions.
Thank you.
I can't be at the Capitol. I can't read every part of the text. I can't run over in the, when there's a meeting called different times of the year, because here I am in Tampa holding mama's arms up and daddy's arms up and helping them figure out how to structure their homeschool day or address an issue with a learning problem or get connected with dual enrollment. That's what we do with mentoring and help at our local level. If it wasn't for HEF, I would have nothing to talk with them about because we would have no home education freedoms.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I don't do local stuff. So when you ask about tests, there weren't anything that we could do back in my day. We had to go to a private school and get our kids tested just because we wanted to see how every one of those 5 options worked. But I never tested my kids until they got old enough to do the SAT and ACT for college. So I don't know about curriculums. I'm not a good person to ask those questions. Jason, I don't know.
Isn't that a freeing thing to be able to say, though?
It really is. It's not my lane. So Tracy from FPEA says, "Hi all, thank you for this. Can we get a list of questions, answers, FAQs on PEP from this, etc., for the FPEA Homeschool Florida? We have some FAQs already, but maybe we can merge our lists to come up with a way to use similar I'm paraphrasing now, but maybe similar phrasing so we're not using different wordings and keep confusion at a minimum." I think that's a great idea. I can work in the background to help share some of those.
Absolutely.
In the meantime, absolutely feel free, Tracy, to go over to our forum. I'm going to share screen here for a second. Yes. Go over to our forum, in the live forum, and we can add all kinds of Q&As here. And this is a live interactive forum that allows knowledgeable people who are a part of FPEA or HEF or just parents and people like Dina who are homeschool program runners who know what they're talking about to come in, and we're able to add tags next to people's names so that they know who's answering the questions and why their answer holds weight or carries the weight that it would. And that's also a great resource because it's live. So the Q&As that you get here, these videos will stay up for replay, but there's so much more resources there that we'll be able to tap into as well. One final question here. Let me grab it up. I think I know the answer to this one, Brenda. How will PEP money affect my child playing sports at their zoned public school? Will they be able to participate in sports like they are when enrolled as a county homeschooler? Do you want me to take this one and then tell me if I'm wrong?
Do it, Jason.
Let me try. So I don't remember the statute numbers, but I do remember that it's called the Craig Dickinson Act, which gives home education students the rights and the privileges to actually enroll and have their extracurriculars. And that is a part of the legislation that was referenced when it says that the PEP program students will have the same benefits and rights that the home education path has. So I do know that.
Good job.
Good job.
Thank you. I got one. We should stop on a high note. What do you think?
I agree.
Sounds good. Well, Dina, thank you for being with us today, and thank you for
pleasure.
Your heart and your knowledge. And I love you to death. You've been a part of our homeschooling here. Being from Alabama, we didn't have a Brenda, and I didn't have a Dina either. So my home education path looked quite different than what my kids get. And I want to make sure that everybody knows what their rights are and things like that. That's why we want to do these live streams. And thank you for being a part of it. For people who are in your area, Dina, tell us what your area is and who might benefit from you and how they can connect with you.
Sure. So our program is called Class Source, and our website will be in the comments. Jason will make that happen because
I will.
Yeah, you got me, bro. And we are a home education support program that mentors homeschooling families, educates families, and also hosts classes and clubs for K through 12. We're in our 20th year this year of working together, and are really happy to serve the Tampa Bay area. We are a nonprofit, so everything is going back into our community. And we have our open house on August the 14th at 7 p.m. It's a Monday evening. And we welcome anyone to come and learn more about what we do. We'll also be posting all of the monthly meetings to teach on topics like this and get you connected with all the things you might need ongoing to home educate.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. And Brenda, anything you want to say before we wrap up?
No, we just would encourage people to spread the word that we're going to be doing these live forums every Monday at noon. So if you have questions that you want us to answer, please submit those either during the forum or in advance to Jason. And that
You
would
can do
be
that through the
info.
contact form.
Yeah.
Yeah, on the website.
And we'll do our best to get the correct answers for you. I will be getting more information about the extracurricular activities and Bright Futures and all of that, hopefully by the next time we do this.
Absolutely. And so I have scheduled up on Facebook a series, an event series that's live video. And that's what these are. And we're coming up on the last two, I believe, that are scheduled in that Facebook event. So if this is something that you like and you think you want to see more of, I will work with Brenda to make those happen, and I'll get a new event set up. But I will tell me, like, let me know in the comments, you know, and share it out so that I can see the activity that comes from it and go, okay, cool, this is something that our community loves and needs, and we'll keep doing it. Great. Anything else?
Thanks for all y'all are doing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. There we go.